First day of summer, first day of a brand new season. After picking up my brand new upgraded copper watering can and buying a ton of seeds to water for the beginning of the month, I spent the rest of the day fishing for puppyfish for Sophia, and I couldn't get any, and I was starting to wonder if maybe I could only get them during the springtime. I did end up catching a lot of butterfish though. I gave one to Sophia the next day, but she hated it, so mental note for next time. Defeated for the rest of the day, I ended up just doing a ton of chores, cracking a ton of geodes, donating to the museum, and a ton of stuff to the community center as well. The path to the mountain opens up on day 3, and I'm excited to go say hi to Susan for the first time, which I don't have to wait for, as Susan ends up actually coming to our farm to introduce herself. I still obviously wanted to see what the new railroad area looked like, so I checked that out, and the new Emerald Farm looks really cool. The spa itself looks pretty much the same. Since I was in the process of already upgrading my tools, there was this new building in front of the bus stop that I can't access without an upgraded axe. So I dropped my axe off at Clint's to get upgraded, and while I did that, decided to go ahead and make some progress through the mines. I was actually able to make it to level 105, but I did finish the mine progression the following day. I reached the final level, I got the skeleton key, so cool. Finishing the mine in 32 days, 32 in-game days, was pretty cool for me. When my axe was finally ready and I chopped down the trees, blocking off my entrance to this building, and I stepped inside, a short cutscene played with really nothing going on. As far as I can tell, this building is pretty empty at the moment, so hopefully something happens with this sometime soon. I'm sure something will happen eventually, but I'm hoping, fingers crossed, sooner rather than later. With my upgraded axe, I decided to go ahead and check out the secret forest as well, see if there was anything new there. As far as I could tell, it was pretty much the same, and why not? I spent the rest of the day chopping down hardwood on my farm now that I had the ability to. Now that I was done progressing through the mine, I decided to go ahead and also start having Robin build a barn on my farm so I could start working on those farm animals as well. This, of course, meant I needed a lot of money, which meant that I was going to go fishing for a majority of the day, which ended up being really cool as I was able to get a dinosaur egg out of one of the treasure chests. A very low chance to get a dinosaur egg. I think the wiki says 0.6 to 0.7%, so that was awesome. Day 7, final first week of summer. I really wanted to find some puppyfish. If you recall, at the beginning of the month I couldn't find any, so I went fishing all day and I couldn't find any. That was kind of unfortunate. Day 8 was a bad luck day, so I wasn't even going to bother trying to fish. That would just be kind of a waste of time. But in addition to funds for the barn, I also need wood, so I was able to accumulate a little bit of wood for the building of that. And in the middle of heading to the spa to restore my energy so that I could continue doing that all day, I ended up running into Clint, and there was this cool cutscene where he wanted to talk to us about this boulder that is blocking the entrance to another part of the railroad area that I can't get past with my current pickaxe. I really didn't want to waste any time to see how to progress further along with this, so I met Clint at his house, and he told us that he needed 20 coal and 20 iridium. 20 coal was really easy. I already have 20 coal, but the 20 iridium is, I think I only have like 4 at this point, so I know that the first thing I need to do is get access to the Skull Cavern as quickly as I can so that I can start getting iridium ore. Obviously, by this time it was kind of late and I didn't have that money already, so I went back to the spot as planned, got my energy restored, and went back to cleaning up my farm, at least for today. First harvest for summer comes in day 9. I harvested everything that I had and filled in the rest of the spots with blueberries, the most profitable thing that I could have planted at this point. And I still needed more wood, so I just kept chopping down the trees on my farm. And the next day, day 10, I finally have enough resources of all types that I need for Robin to start building the barn. At which point, I still need puppyfish, so I go fishing for that. Luckily, I was able to find some puppyfish finally. Day 11 of summer is, of course, the luau, and I saved a quality potato from a spring harvest that I had kept, because I knew that having a higher quality item in the soup that you can do for the luau generates a more positive response from the community, so I saved that. I'm pretty sure you can put something else in there that's better. I think I've done a gold star quality cauliflower at some point. I think that received a better response. Either way, the potato was a success and the luau was a success, so great, another awesome Stardew event done. But speaking of Stardew events, day 12, the next day, there was a cutscene that I had with Sophia. She was coming out of the hospital, and when she was noticeably very sad, there was a couple of options to cheer her up, and one of them was to pet Dusty the dog to help make her feel better, which I offered. She took, and she very much enjoyed it, so glad to help make Sophia feel better. And in addition, it also kind of opened up this really cool cutscene with Dusty, where we can kind of interact with Dusty, and now Dusty's a more prominent character in this game too, which is cool. Melon Harvest Day on day 13, which I then immediately sold to rebuy more melon seeds to replant on the farm. Of course, I've accumulated a ton of wood at this point, so I decided to repair the beach bridge as well with 300 of it. And given the amount of funds that I have at this point as well, I went ahead and bought the iridium rod from Willy, as fishing is a really big part of my income right now, so buying a better upgraded rod was kind of a no-brainer. The halfway point, day 14 of my Stardew Valley expanded playthrough, was pretty tame. Demetrius, who I met at the fountain inside Stardew Valley, there was a cool cutscene with him where he just simply talked about the history of Stardew Valley's name. He says the soil in the valley is extremely fertile due to a meteor shower that happened about 150 years ago. And as I've mentioned before in previous cutscenes that you see in this playthrough, most of these are not in the original version of Stardew Valley, so this was just a cool piece of lore that was completely unnecessary, but also adds that nice little bit of flavor to Stardew Valley that I really like expanded for. Day 15 was a lot of puppy fishing, and I was able to get to the 5 hearts with Sophia. Day 16, I was getting ready to buy barn animals from Marnie, and I realized as I was passing her in town that that wasn't happening today, so of course, more fishing. One fish that I caught though that was new was a starfish. I know Expanded added a few new critters, of course the butterfish and puppyfish being one of them, but the starfish was one that was new for me, and that was kind of cool because it reminded me that there are tons of new other fish in other areas that I haven't seen yet, so it kind of encouraged me to continue fishing in other locations as well. To be honest though, it's really going to be just a lot of fishing for the next few days. Day 17 had a fun Willy cutscene where he showed us a king salmon. Speaking of brand new fish, I don't think king salmon is in the original Stardew Valley. I think king salmon is only an expanded thing. So Willy giving you an idea of where you can catch a brand new cool fish is awesome. And as I mentioned before, it's lots of fishing. On day 17, 18, and 19, I basically fished for either money, so I was looking for high quality fish, or I was fishing for puppyfish, which I was able to get quite a lot. I think I ended up with about 10 puppyfish over the course of 3 days, which meant that I was good on all of my gifts for Sophia for a while. But eventually I did get really close to 40k on day 19, but on day 20 I wanted to break up the monotony of fishing, even though I was that close, so I ended up just spending the whole day on my farm that day, just doing a little bit of cleanup, just not fishing, basically. I continued to break up the monotony just a little bit on day 21. After giving Sophia her gift for the day, I headed to the mine, and my thought process here was I was going to try and hunt for magma geodes and omni geodes just in the regular mines that you can do in Stardew, because those have a chance to drop iridium ore as well. By the end of it, unfortunately, I think I only found a couple of omni geodes, neither of which produced any iridium ore, but that's okay. The next day, however, day 22, for me was certainly far more interesting. You see, at this point, I had seen how big Sophia's house was, I'd seen how large the vineyard was, and one of the things that had kind of popped out to me were all these different features of her home. There was another room that was completely blocked out. There was a board game set up for 3 people that was very dusty. There was a kitchen table with only one setup out, and I was, for a long time, kind of wondering, where the heck are Sophia's parents? Who are the other people that live here? And it was on this day, when we finally got 6 hearts with Sophia, that it showed a cutscene of her weeping at a grave in the town cemetery. And after it prompted me to check on her, I decided to go ahead and check out what the grave was first, and I saw that it was for Robert and Alice, who then I figured out was her parents. When I went to go check on her, it triggered quite an emotional cutscene wherein she was crying in her parents' bedroom, and when we tried to console her, she asked us to leave. But on the way out, she apologized, and she kind of explained what was going on, talked about her medication a little bit, and eventually asked if I watch anime. Now, I, Ryan, in real life, am not the biggest anime watcher. The most recent anime that I've ever watched was My Hero Academia, and that's pretty cool, but it's been a while since I've watched that. But of course, in this situation, I would say yes, especially with a name like Pink Princess Crusaders. I mean, come on. This cheered her up, and it was a wonderful little cutscene to watch and unfold as we learned a little bit more about Sophia. I'm only a little bit off from finishing the vault, so I went to the ocean to fish. That way I could immediately sell the fish to Willy before he closed by the end of the day, and I was able to accumulate enough funds to fixed the vault, which meant that later on that night, we got the cutscene of the Junimos fixing the bus to lead to Calico Desert. And the next day, after finishing all the morning chores, including the farm animals and all of the crops, I headed straight to the desert, really excited to check out how the new desert looks in the expanded mod. And immediately, I can tell that a little bit of a redecoration has occurred. The shop is now a little bit closer to the bus stop. It's actually to the north of the bus stop now, and to the south of the bus stop. The desert is now just this gigantic, vast, just emptiness, like a regular, like real life desert would be. And the mine is just a little bit off to the right, but otherwise, other than just being a lot bigger, the desert is pretty much the same. I also went through it a little bit just to see what kind of progress I could make with an obsidian sword and a copper pickaxe, and I was only able to make it through, I think, 5 or 6 floors before I realized there was no way I was going to be able to do this without an upgraded pickaxe. The morning of day 24 was spent fishing, and the afternoon of day 24 was spent in the mines farming iron and coal, as those are the ingredients necessary to make bombs. It's much faster to get through the skull caverns when you have big bombs and lots of steps. I guess in a way I was also farming for stones as well too. I dropped my pickaxe off at Clint's on day 25 to be upgraded to the steel pickaxe, and there was also a train event that occurred today as well, and it reminded me that I wanted to start building a horse stable as soon as possible as well, as getting to the train from home would take quite a while just walking there, and I didn't want to miss anything. So I used this as an excuse to build the horse stable, but in reality I really just wanted the horse stable as well, which is super easy to afford when the next day all of my blueberries were ready to go. So I sold them all, headed to Robin's, and had her start building the horse stable on the farm. And I didn't really feel like doing much today after that, so I just did a little bit of farm cleanup. Not entirely sure how the overall layout of this farm is that I want at the end of this whole thing, but I know that just in general, I wanted to clear out a good majority of space. The pickaxe was ready the following day on day 27. I went to go pick it up immediately, and then afterwards headed straight to the skull cavern to start trying to get iridium ore, which was fun because I also forgot all the bombs that I had been making up until that point too. So I was only able to get a few floors down, and after this venture I think I was only missing about 5 iridium ore from Clint's request of the 20 that I need. But I was able to get a prismatic shard, my first prismatic shard of this playthrough, which allowed me to pick up the galaxy sword in the desert as well, so that should hopefully get me through the skull caverns a lot faster now. And on day 56 of the playthrough, day 28 of summer, the final day of summer, I got this cutscene with Emily, which gave us access to her sewing machine. I don't know if that was triggered because I found cloth in the skull cavern or because maybe it always triggers around this time, but that was really neat, considering I hadn't really talked to Emily up until that point. As customary with the end of the season, there was really nothing for me to do crop-wise. I did prepare a lot of quality sprinklers, or a few quality sprinklers, using the gold, iron, and quartz that I had found, just preparing for the next season and also starting to refine a little bit of where I want the crops to go on my farm. But really, honestly, this is the only day, the only event in Stardew Valley that I truly ever actually anticipate. The Dance of the Moonlight Jellies happened that night, and I've said this before in previous, Stardew Valley playthroughs that I've played, even though this event overall doesn't really do anything for the overall progress of your playthrough, you really just have the option to go to the shop, the kind of special shop that night, and then talk to everybody and get your speech up with them. I still think just because of the vibe of it and the music, the look of it, it's just a great way to cap off summer. That will do it for this video for summer year 1 of my Stardew Valley expanded playthrough. Thank you so much for watching and listening. I hope that you enjoyed. If you're new to the channel and want to keep up with this playthrough, please be sure to subscribe and turn notifications on. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to drop a like on it. Lets me know you guys really enjoyed this style of content. Until next time, everybody, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. Take care of yourselves and have a great day.